Well, hello, and welcome to my channel. We are back at it again today with the niche content that nobody asked for. We are going to be making Girl Scout cookies inspired by Beetlejuice the musical.
It's showtime!
We are going to be making
Samoas and Thin Mints.
Surprisingly, today's recipe is not coming out of my musical theatre cookbook. No, it is coming from the queen herself, Claire Saffitz. We are trying out a gourmet makes recipe today. And just to make it perfectly clear, I would die for Claire Saffitz.
See, I wasn't kidding, it's a show about death!
So the recipe calls for 2 sticks of butter, which isn't very specific. Here I have just 1 huge stick of butter that I'm going to use. So take your room temperature butter and put it into a bowl. Sugar, vanilla, 1 egg white. And then you're going to beat it until it is light and fluffy.
This was the point where my mixer blew up. Oh, and I also got butter in my hair.
When you're a Girl Scout.
Everything will go terribly wrong.
This left me with no other option than to beat the butter by hand, which takes literally forever.
2,000 years later.
It has been so long that I have graduated from the Girl Scouts. My hair is up. I mean business. Now, this I don't think is creamed, but it'll do. Because I've been beating it by hand for 10 minutes. So I have a second bowl and we are going to take half of the butter from this bowl and put it into the other bowl because we're actually making 2 different doughs. But because I am big-brained, I thought it would be easier to do it all in one big batch. Turns out that's not a smart idea and you will blow up your mixer. Now it is time to do maths. I would say this is the tricky part, but everything has been a struggle at this point. Uh-oh. I need 1.5. No. I've messed this up so badly. What is half of 1.5? Half. All I wanted to do was make Claire proud, and I am failing. Now for the vanilla dough, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and for the chocolate dough, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder.
I also added some baking powder and some salt to both of the doughs, as well as adding a splash of peppermint extract to the thin mint dough. And then of course, more hand mixing. Once everything is combined, you are going to plop your dough out onto a tray lined with baking paper. Make sure to spread it out into a disc before covering it with another sheet of baking paper, so you should end up sandwiching it between 2 pieces of baking paper.
So now we have 2 discs of dough. I'm going to put these into the fridge to chill, and I'm going to come back to this tomorrow. Because your girl needs to go to bed. I'm tired. This is potentially the most amount of exercise that I have done in quarantine. I will see you tomorrow. Okay, it is day 2 of Girl Scout cookies. We are going to get our dough out of the fridge. We need to roll it out and punch out our cookie shapes.
For both different types of cookies, I'm starting out by using a circle cookie cutter, and then for the Samoas, I used a piping tip to cut out a little hole in the center so I had a wreath shape. Now this dough does melt ridiculously fast, so be prepared for many trips back and forth to the fridge.
So while the dough is chilling, again, for the 3rd or 4th time, I've honestly lost track at this point, we are going to prepare the other components for the cookies. So first up, we're going to be roasting some coconut in the oven. Component number 2 is not so easy. We are going to be making some caramel. So I'm going to take you over to the stove and we are going to go boil some sugar, because that doesn't sound dangerous.
So in a saucepan on medium heat, I am adding granulated sugar, glucose syrup, or you can also use corn syrup, Oh my god, let me tell you, this stuff is so sticky. It is a nightmare. Add 2 tablespoons of water and then stir until it is dissolved. In the meantime, your coconut should be nice and toasted. This took about 5 minutes to get it to this color. Now that the oven is free, I put my cookies in at 175 degrees Celsius. Now I'm cranking the heat on my sugar. I'm going to boil it until it becomes a nice amber color. Then you're going to slowly pour in half a cup of cream and add some coconut oil, stir it all together, and then cook it until it gets to 121 degrees Celsius. Then you're going to remove it from the heat and pour it into a heat-proof container. Claire also said to not scrape down the sides of the saucepan, so don't do that. Put your caramel into the fridge to cool. Our caramel is cooled, our cookies have come out of the oven and they have cooled. There's only one last component that we need to look after.
I have 200 grams of milk chocolate in this one, 200 grams of dark chocolate in this bowl. I've also added a little bit of peppermint extract to this one, and I'm replacing the cocoa butter that Claire used with coconut oil, which should be interesting. I'm pretty sure this is just Claire's way of not having to temper chocolate, to which I say, thank you. I'm going to melt these on a double boiler, but through the magic of editing, by the time I spin around, these will be melted. Ta-da! Now it is time for everyone's favorite part, I hope. Let's decorate.
The Thin Mints are super easy. You just have to dip them in the dark chocolate. Make sure you let the excess drip off before you place them onto some baking paper and put them into the fridge to set.
Moving on to the Samoas, we've got a slight problem. I need to spread this onto the cookies. Problem is, it's not the most spreadable. So we might have to melt this.
Getting the caramel to stick to the cookie was a struggle. These biscuits are also very delicate, so they break very easily. Then I had a genius idea. I made a caramel worm and pressed it into the biscuit, and that worked significantly better than what I was doing before. Once you've got your caramel on your cookie, you just have to dip it into your coconut. Then ever so gently, dip the bottom of your Samoas into the milk chocolate. I was terrified that these were going to break. To finish it off, you are going to pipe some beautiful designs onto the top of your cookies, and then just like the Thin Mints, put them into the fridge to harden.
It is taste testing time. Here are our finished Girl Scout cookies. I'm not gonna lie, my Thin Mints low-key ended up more like thick mints, but I mean, who doesn't like a good thick cookie? They look good. Now the question is, do they taste good? So first up, we'll try our thick mint. These are insanely good. Okay. I know this is what Andy said in the Gourmet Makes video, but they are so tender, they literally melt in your mouth. Also, my Samoa that I glued back together actually worked. So let's try the ugly one, shall we? Very chewy. Okay, it tastes so good, but I think I went a little bit overboard with the caramel because it is very, very chewy. My mission for this video was to make Claire proud. That was all I wanted. And I think I achieved my goal. I think she would be proud. Considering how much of a disaster this was at the start, I am proud of myself. And you know what? That is the most important part. Anyways, that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far into the video. You were the real MVPs. If you want to support me, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. It's free, it takes 2 seconds, and it would low-key make my day. Last but not least, as always, be a kind human. Also, can we appreciate the costume that I made myself out of a Woolworths shopping bag? Please like this video because I spent way too long